Game of Thrones redefined television until it broke its own throne. It gave us dragons, political betrayal, and unforgettable deaths, then melted under the weight of its own hype. But behind the scenes, it was even messier than Westeros. These are 20 weird facts about Game of Thrones, and the bonus fact, let's just say HBO tried to bury it under a CGI mountain. Fact 1. The pilot was so bad, HBO almost scrapped the entire show. Before Game of Thrones conquered pop culture, it bombed in the most expensive way possible. The original unaired pilot was a disaster. The pacing was off, characters were unrecognizable, and one crucial detail, nobody understood that Jaime and Cersei were siblings. The incest twist flew right over test audiences' heads. Showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss had to reshoot almost the entire episode. They recast major roles, including Daenerys and Catelyn, rewrote scenes, and basically started from scratch. HBO was this close to shelving the project until the new version convinced them to gamble on dragons and dynasties. Fact 2. Emilia Clarke got her role thanks to one awkward dance. When Emilia Clarke auditioned for Daenerys Targaryen, she nailed the dramatic scenes, but the room was tense. So when asked if she could do something to lighten the mood, she busted out a goofy chicken dance. No joke. Executives laughed so hard they called her back the next day. Years later, HBO president Carolyn Strauss said, "We knew then that she wasn't just a queen. She was the queen and the jester." That moment sealed her fate as the mother of dragons. Fact 3. Kit Harington got his job with a black eye. The night before his final audition for Jon Snow, Kit Harington got into a fight at McDonald's. He showed up to HBO with a swollen face and a bruised ego. Instead of hiding it, he leaned in, sat down, stared into the camera, and growled through his lines. The casting director later said the black eye made him look like he'd lived a life. He was instantly Jon Snow. Fact 4. Peter Dinklage refused to audition and still got the part. Tyrion Lannister was written with one actor in mind, Peter Dinklage. The showrunners begged him to take the role, but he refused to audition. He was tired of playing leprechauns and elves and didn't want to join a fantasy show full of cliches. Benioff and Weiss sent him the full script. He read it overnight, called them in the morning, and said, "This is smart. I'm in, but no prosthetic nose." In the books, Tyrion has a much more grotesque appearance. Dinklage vetoed it. And honestly, he was right. Fact 5. The Dothraki language was invented from scratch. While most fantasy shows get lazy with made-up tongues, Game of Thrones went all in. HBO hired linguist David J. Peterson to develop a full working language. Grammar, verbs, syntax, even dirty jokes for the Dothraki. Peterson created over 3,000 words. Emilia Clarke studied it like a second language. The result? Entire scenes delivered in fictional dialogue that still felt emotionally real. Fans loved it so much, people actually started learning Dothraki online. Someone even proposed in it. Yes, really. Fact 6. Sean Bean knew Ned Stark was doomed from day one. Sean Bean, aka Lord Eddard Stark, didn't just expect his character to die, he insisted on it. He read the books before filming and immediately told producers, "You know I die, right?" They laughed. He didn't. He even requested they give him extra time to film the beheading scene correctly. Bean knew this was the moment that would make or break the series. "It's what sets the tone," he said. "If Ned can die, anyone can." Into this kind of behind-the-scenes madness. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell because the next facts only get more brutal. Fact 7. Charles Dance didn't know what show he was filming. When Charles Dance was cast as Tywin Lannister, he had no idea what Game of Thrones was. He thought it was a medieval BBC miniseries. In one interview, he admitted, I didn't read the script until I was on the plane to Belfast. By the time he finished season 1, he was obsessed. He became one of the show's most commanding presences, completely unaware he'd just joined a pop culture phenomenon. Fact 8. The Night's Watch set was made of styrofoam and sawdust. Castle Black looked cold, ancient, and deadly, but most of it, total fakery. The icy walls were made of sculpted styrofoam painted by hand. The snow, paper pulp, and sawdust sprayed through industrial fans. During season 3, the crew used so much fake snow it clogged the studio ventilation system. Actors were literally coughing winter. And those elevator chains Jon Snow pulls? Plastic. Fact 9. Sophie Turner adopted her dire wolf in real life. After filming season 1, Sophie Turner, Sansa Stark, couldn't bear to leave behind her dire wolf, Lady, played by a northern Inuit dog named Zuni, so she adopted her. They lived together for years until Zuni passed away in 2017. Turner later said, "She was my first on-screen sister. I couldn't let her go." Meanwhile, most of the other direwolves were CGI by season 5. Zuni was one of the only real ones who ever made it to set. Fact 10. Lena Headey and Jerome Flynn couldn't be in scenes together. Cersei and Bronn had 0 screen time together. That wasn't a creative choice, it was a logistical one. Actors Lena Headey and Jerome Flynn used to date badly, and things ended worse. By the time Game of Thrones hit its later seasons, their contract reportedly stated they couldn't be scheduled together, ever. That's why Bronn never makes it to any of Cersei's big scenes. He's always just off-screen, conveniently tasked with something else. Fact 11. A Starbucks cup made it into an actual episode. Yes, the infamous Season 8 coffee cup was real. Somehow, a Starbucks-style cup ended up in front of Daenerys during a feast scene in Episode 4. It aired, unedited, and the internet exploded. HBO later edited it out for future streams, but the memes were eternal. Emilia Clarke blamed Conleth Hill. Varys. Hill blamed the lighting guy. Nobody really knows who left it there. And somehow, that cup got more press than the Battle of Winterfell. Fact 12. The dragons had their own team of animators. Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion weren't just CGI add-ons. Each dragon had a designated animator responsible for their movement, emotion, and growth. By season 7, the dragons were more complex to render than any creature HBO had ever attempted. They used a combination of bat, eagle, and cat references to get the flight mechanics right. And yes, they gave Drogon a sad face file, just for Daenerys' death scene. Fact 13. Arya's water dancing training was real swordplay. Maisie Williams didn't just pretend to fight, she trained for months in a specialized fencing technique called water dancing. The elegant and precise style taught by Syrio Forel in season 1. It's based on real-life rapier and dagger training. She worked with stunt coordinators and choreographers to make it flow like dance rather than brute combat. And she kept training throughout the show. Even when her character wasn't fighting, Maisie was. The result? By season 8, Arya's skills were entirely her own. No stunt double was needed for the Night King scene. Fact 14. The Battle of the Bastards took 25 days to shoot. One of the most visually brutal battles in TV history wasn't just hard to watch, it was hell to film. The Battle of the Bastards in season 6 took nearly a month to shoot, with 500 extras, 70 horses, and a mountain of mud. Actors were freezing, horses were restless, and the famous Jon Snow crushed under body shot. Kit Harington did it all himself, pushing through layers of stuntmen in a single breathless take. The director called it controlled chaos. Kit called it the worst camping trip of my life. Fact 15. Gwendolyn Christie submitted herself for an Emmy because HBO didn't. When season 8 rolled around, HBO chose which actors to submit for Emmy consideration. And shockingly, Gwendolyn Christie, Brienne of Tarth, wasn't on the list. So she submitted herself, paid the fee, took the risk, and it worked. She got nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actress. Fans exploded with joy, and HBO looked a little embarrassed. She later said, "Brienne was worth fighting for. She always has been." Fact 16. The Iron Throne was physically impossible to sit on. The Iron Throne in the books is described as massive, jagged, and terrifying, more like a mountain of twisted blades than a chair. The HBO version, still huge, but slightly more functional, except even that was a nightmare. The metal replica was so uncomfortable that actors had to rehearse separate from it, then sit down very carefully before a scene. Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jaime, once said, "You didn't sit on it, you perched, and you prayed you didn't snag your costume." Fact 17. Jason Momoa's audition was a haka. When Jason Momoa auditioned for Khal Drogo, he didn't deliver lines. Instead, he performed a full Maori haka, a traditional war dance, with chest slapping, screaming, and all. He didn't tell the casting team what he was doing. He just stood up, roared, and became a warlord. The room went silent afterward. Then the casting director whispered, "I think we found our Drogo." Fact 18. Tyrion's drinking was meticulously scripted. You might think Tyrion Lannister's wine guzzling was just a casual prop gag. Nope. Peter Dinklage choreographed every sip. Why? Because Tyrion uses drinking like a weapon, punctuating silences, dodging questions, asserting dominance. In most scripts, the direction literally said things like, Tyrion sips deliberately, or drinks mid-sentence for control. Dinklage said it wasn't about being drunk, it was about being sharper than the guy across from you, because you're drinking and still winning. Fact 19. One actor had to wear a beard made of yak hair. Christian Nairn, who played Hodor, couldn't grow a full beard on his own, so the makeup department made one from real yak hair. Every day, it had to be glued to his face, inches by inches, for consistency. During hot filming days, it would slip. During rain scenes, it would stink. Nairn said it felt like wearing a wet mop strapped to your jaw. But the look was worth it. Hodor became one of the most beloved characters in the series, facial hair and all. Fact 20. Bran's storyline changed mid-series. Originally, Bran Stark's arc was different, more prophetic, less mystical. But after season 4, the writers reshaped him to become the three-eyed raven fully. This wasn't just creative. It was reactive. Why? Because fan theories online were starting to get too close. Writers feared the internet would spoil the Night King reveal, so they rewrote several elements of Bran's power. By the final season, the plan for Bran to become king was locked, but early scripts never mentioned it. His coronation was added deep into season 8. Bonus fact, one scene was so dark, HBO had to apologize. The Battle of Winterfell, also known as the Long Night, became legendary for another reason. It was so dark, millions of viewers couldn't see a thing. Social media exploded. Memes, complaints, tutorials on how to boost your TV's brightness. The cinematographer defended it. It was meant to be immersive. HBO quietly issued a statement suggesting people adjust their viewing environment, but fans weren't buying it. The most epic showdown in the series? Mostly remembered as that time we watched Black Fog for 82 minutes. If you like this, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more insane facts from behind the scenes.